r/ask Reddit. What do people pretend they understand but actually have no idea about? Politics. This is something I do genuinely want to learn more about, but I feel so much is hidden and influenced by so many other factors and sources that any opinions I might be able to form would just be laughable. If you're serious about learning more about politics, just start doing your research. Read everything you can get your hands on. Read ultra-left liberal blogs, but also read the most conservative writers. Read The Nit and The Washington Post. Watch CNN and Fox News. Listen to NPR and conservative talk show radio. You're going to read and hear the most extreme points of views, and many times they will be in direct contradiction with one another. Slowly but surely, however, you'll start to realize it's very easy to detect what's pure bullshit and what actually might be a sensible opinion. By hearing arguments from the left, the right and everything in between, you will start to form your own voice and an actual informed opinion on a variety of subjects. You then will be more knowledgeable about politics and the issues that are affecting your country, state, city than 99% of the population. Their own computer. Oh my god, my dumbest roommate does this ever since she got a job selling Dell computers. She's already insufferable as it is, but now she thinks she knows everything about computers when she only has very basic knowledge. Last night her laptop was acting screwy, so I told her to just turn it off then turn it back on, and she just looks at me like I'm stupid and says, you mean a power cycle? Yep, beach. A power cycle. Exactly what the duck I said. Power cycle? My e-bike is in the garage. Memes. You can't just slap text on an image and call it a meme. You can't even make memes to begin with. They aren't created. They just sort of happen. My favorite meme is picture of Will Ferrell with whatever text you want. It doesn't matter. r/Will Ferrell memes. Law. Source. Am lawyer. Know how to tell if someone's a lawyer? They won't give you unsolicited legal advice. In the real world, no one knows you're a lawyer, because if you tell them, all you get is, hey, this happened. Can you help? What the job market is really like these days for millennials. Sounds like this comment goes both ways. Millennials seem to overstate the challenges of the job market. Most millennials don't really know that the youth unemployment rate was higher in the early 80s than it is today. It may not just be unemployment, but underemployment as well. Student loans are bogging them down. Costs of living are rising. Rent, healthcare, etc. While wages stay the same. No crack epidemic, though. Important to keep in mind that each generation or group in its own isolated time frame is independent, and they each had their fair share of issues. That doesn't invalidate today's issues, however. Having aquariums with fish. The things people believe are mind-boggling. Fish grow to the size of their containers or betters in the wild, live in buffalo hoofprints, and often they don't want to hear the truth. You're killing your fish through ammonia poisoning. Once I was at one of the big box pet stores and overheard an employee telling a woman that she could totally keep a male and female better together as long as the tank is big enough. At least 1 gallon. I guarantee one or both of those fish were dead pretty quickly. A man goes to the pet store to buy a better fish. The clerk asks him, "Do you want an aquarium?" The man says, "I don't care what the fish's star sign is." People get very defensive when you try to politely correct them too. I tried to explain to someone that those tiny Kickstarter aquariums with no filter/heater weren't very humane, and she shouted at me. Most types of science beyond what you learn in high school. As a biomed major, nothing annoys me more than people who use arguments with no real basis in biology or chemistry. To use a well-known example, anti-vaxxers typically do this all the time, misinterpreting the science behind making the vaccines, how they work in their fight to end vaccination. Edit. I seem to be getting this a lot, so I'm going to clarify this here. I don't claim to know everything. Nor do I claim to be an expert on the subject of biology. I never wrote anything to that effect in my original text, nor will I. I merely stated that after having studied biology at a university level for 4 years, it annoys me to see people make scientific arguments when they don't understand the science behind what they're saying. Even though I'm still an undergrad, I think it's fair for me to say such a thing. Given that I don't need to be a PhD to understand the principles of human microbial physiology. It's just as bad with physics. For example, I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard someone claim that energy is the focus of some concept or another. Acupressure redirects the body's energy, someone might say, which is why it heals you. What kind of energy are we talking about? You might reply, what? Well, you could continue. Is it thermal energy? Electrical energy? I'm assuming that we're not discussing kinetic energy, given that most folks receiving acupressure are lying prone. It's just energy. That word doesn't mean anything unless you're defining an associated medium. Acupressure is bunk. This happens all the damn time. Folks will also occasionally try to argue that the energy they're discussing can't be detected because science can't explain everything. Here's a news flash for them. If you can't detect this energy, then you can't interact with it in a meaningful way, which means your uncomfortable foot massage isn't doing a damn thing. Furthermore, the fact that science can't explain everything does not mean that your bit of metaphysical mumbo jumbo is somehow exempt from the rules that science can explain. Don't even get me started on the misuse of the word quantum. Whoa, your stress levels are off the charts. Look, you've got 27 units. The clitoris. Took me forever to find this. Am I the only one who just flat out asked? Religion. Christianity is complicated as duck. I doubt most people even fully understand what separates their branch from others. To be fair, to do this properly requires a knowledge not only of your own religion, but of all other branches as well, which is a lot to ask. Quantum mechanics. I'm sorry, but just because you read a short history of nearly everything or cosmos, doesn't mean you can accurately lecture people on quantum physics, or physics in general. I've taken graduate level quantum mechanics and I don't get it. That's how I know you've actually taken quantum mechanics. This is the best understanding anyone I've ever spoken to has about QM after taking classes in it. Me? I never understood it when I was taking it. Forget now. I know what quantized means and a bit about nodes and energy. And I guess that's more or less all I need for chemistry. Mental illnesses. Edit. Well shit guys. Who knew that two words would provoke so much discussion? Totally agree with most of ye folks. Thanks for the karma. Farming. Oh hey, you just plant the crops and they grow. Simple as that. If I want 100 heads of lettuce, I just plant 100 seeds. Boom, easy. In actuality, farming is a hell of a lot more complicated than that. Irrigation, crop rotation, seed stock, pesticides, herbicides. More complicated if you are trying to grow organic. The amount you need to grow to be self-sufficient along with turning a decent profit etc. How many days off a year you are really going to get. I have heard many people say, oh, I think I'll just become a farmer and retire doing that. Hahaha no. Edit. OMG I get it. You play Harvest Moon or Farmville. As a sim farm expert, the trick is to raise horse and cows instead of full-time farming. Then spend your weekends flying the crop duster, even though you don't have many crops. Live the dream. As a Dwarf Fortress player, I know you can raise cavi pups to supply your fortress with fresh meat and leather by simply buying them from elves and letting them breed. But it doesn't matter because the forgotten beasts will kill them. Animal behavior. What is something most people would do if they saw I don't know, a lion running at them? Unlikely, but it could happen. Most people would try to hightail it out of there. Do not run. If you run, you are prey. Stand your ground. Make yourself as loud, large, and as threatening as possible. Never turn your back to a predator. They can and will take any opportunity you give them. Retreat slowly, but not quietly. You're trying to make them think you are the better predator than they are, but are letting them go on your own good grace. Once it has given up, then sidestep your way to safety. Once it turns away and you truly believe that it has given up, stop shouting and making yourself a threat. Always be prepared in this situation. While you are making yourself seem like a large and powerful predator to an even larger and more powerful predator, they could try to charge you again. Mock charge or not, keep being loud and keep those arms flailing. If none of the above works, and you're certain an attack is imminent, stay standing. I know that in a situation like that, crouching seems like a good idea. It is not. The cat will pin you and proceed to rip out your insides and munch on you while you're howling in pain. While you're standing, it will try to go for your face and throat. Aim for its face. especially its eyes. Kick it in the ribs as hard as you possibly can. And if it gets a hold of your arm, do not yank it out. Their teeth are made for ripping and are curved backwards slightly. This seems counterproductive, but as quickly as you can, try to punch the cat inside. Aim for the ducker's larynx. Then with a smooth and quick motion, try to get your arm out. Keep aiming for weak points, like eyes and face and joints. If it finally gives up, congratulations, you just survived a lion attack. Go get patched up. Go to a hospital and get your injuries taken care of. If not, well, edit. I'm not saying any of this is set in stone. Just try not to behave like prey when encountering a predator. I don't think I've ever seen anyone who said they knew how to escape a lion. And now you know. Then again, I am majoring in animal behavior, so. Radiation, and subsequently nuclear power plants. No, it's not a massive bomb waiting to happen. The third arm on my back isn't from when I worked there. There were no deaths caused by 3 Mile Island. And goddammit, that's steam coming from those cooling towers. Not pollution. But people continue to drone on about how unsafe nuclear power plants are. Edit. I'm not saying that nuclear power is invincible. And there are, of course, dangers to it. For those looking at a positive example, turn towards France. About 17% of France's electricity is from recycled nuclear fuel, not to mention research into nuclear power plants fueled by spent fuel. Nuclear power isn't perfect, and when it goes wrong, the dangers are enormous, but they are so much safer for the environment. That being said, deaths from traditional power plants are much higher. Another article on coal and radioactivity. Article on nuclear reactor safety. Article on number of deaths from nuclear accidents. Edit 2. Makes me proud this is my highest voted comment. I spent the last few years working as an industrial radiographer, and people have tried to have us kicked off site because they were downwind of where we were testing. Many people have the aptitude of goldfish. You have a third arm for a different reason? Me watching a StarCraft Pro match. I watched a few matches without ever playing StarCraft, and I couldn't figure out how someone won. Basically, the win condition is when someone decides that they can't win and leaves. It rarely comes down to destroying all of one person's buildings. GMOs. No, you won't get cancer. Edit, because I have to specify apparently. You will not get cancer by eating GMO foods. As someone who has worked in both organic and traditional farming, I see the benefit of GMOs. I also see that they are not inherently free of potential abuse. Like any modern technology, it's how it is used. If we are using GMOs to create a sustainable farming system while maximizing output, great. If someone cares how their food was grown and decides they prefer paying extra organic, great. But if someone, consumer or producer, argues that because GMOs are intrinsically good and therefore we don't need to account for the fact that agriculture is based on living biological systems that require a level of sustainability to remain effective, then I have to disagree. It is a useful and effective technology, but it's easy to see how a corporation driven solely by profit can abuse it. It is neither good nor evil. That falls on the user. This perspective tends to alienate me from both sides of the argument. People are just so black and white on the issue. But they are modifying the genetics, and since I don't know anything about genetics, I am going to assume modifying them can only lead to bad things. Driving. Most people claim to be good drivers, but they do things, such as going well over the speed limit, forgetting to use turn signals, etc., that could easily put them in a dangerous situation. All I ever do is speed. I go 85 on the freeway, although I'd like to go faster if I could. I don't go in and out of traffic or anything but duck if there's this huge clear straightaway ahead of me, then I'm just going to go faster because I can. Other than that, I'm pretty sure I drive well and I have my record to show for it. I've only killed 13 people so far. I thought you were serious until the last sentence. Warfare. Security. In Reddit alone, everyone seems to be an expert on when an attacker constitutes a threat, when force is justified, and everything from war crime to proportional force to use of weapon platforms. In general, I think most people should understand that they know very little of anything. The more one learns more about a subject, the more they understand how little they know. I live in a major military town, and because of that a lot of my friends have been former or active military. I had a couple 101st Airborne guys in my college Arabic classes, for obvious reasons, and hearing them talk to each other I got to hear lots of really weird things I'd never think of just watching movies or playing war games. They'd talk about bullet bounce, like how bullets had a strong tendency to travel 6 inches off a wall if they struck the wall at anywhere around a 30-degree angle, so you never pressed up against a wall in combat. Or their large arguments over whether to wear the gunsling over their backpack, or the backpack over the gunsling, because the first thing they'd do when they came into unexpected combat they'd throw off their backpack, and if their rifle was slung over their shoulder that was another action they had to take to get the backpack off. Or them talking about how people screaming in an ankle lock in WWE was bullshit because your ankle won't hurt from being stretched till about the exact same time you dislocate it. And when I took armed guard training, the instructor was a cop. He had me throw a punch at him so I could be his living example. He instantly grabbed my arm and put me in a thumb lock which made me want to cry. I learned that I am in no way ready to fight anyone with a modicum of training, and wouldn't last 10 seconds. Art. This movie is good and you should like it because insert statement straight from a film critic's column video. This piece of classical music is just inherently better than any of that modern pop crap that you kids listen to nowadays. Because I listen to and enjoy classical music, but can't stand that attitude. Schrodinger's cat. Because it's alive and dead at the same time, right? Yeah, I've heard it. Wasn't that a thought experiment? To show that you can't just apply quantum laws to non-quantum situations? How to be an adult. Right there with you. 44 years old, 2 teenagers, 3 cars, a mortgage. People depend on me. I feel like I'm still faking it every day. Politics. I'm a political science major, and I don't pretend to understand everything. Listening to people spout off something they kind of remember from the news with extreme passion is really disheartening. The worst part is to them it's absolute fact, and nothing anyone says will change that. I double majored in policy and business. Looking back, I honestly think the amount of classmates who thought they knew everything was abhorrent. For example, a statistician is going to be able to analyze data better. An economic major will have better knowledge of economic policy. An ethics major will have better arguments in the nuances of social issues. But for whatever reason, policy majors often think they have the expertise to discuss all of these things in detail. It makes no sense to me. Politics and economics. So much this. I've spent the last 8 years in grad school studying economics, MA plus PhD, finally about to finish, and the level of arrogance on the part of the general public about economics is so frustrating. The more you study something, the more you begin to get a grasp on the tricky parts that are really difficult to understand. Read most of it. Then Joe Schmo comes along and yells, audit the Fed. They ruined the economy. Damn Fannie Mae. Also, why can't you tell me how to make money in the stock market? You're useless. It's just not that simple and not what most of us do. And even if it was, it would be really hard to explain how to do it. It's even worse when Joe Schmo is a congressman. Nuclear power plants and radiation. You have no idea. I, along with many others, ran them in the US Navy. The mind-boggling assortment of misinformation about these two pretty simple concepts is enough to make your head spin. Even trying to correct a few misunderstandings in a thorium circle jerk causes a downvote avalanche to begin. I avoid thorium discussions these days. Those guys are convinced they're right. Edit. If you read deeper into this discussion, you'll see some of mine being uncovered. 2. Depression. Edit. Guys, I'm not currently depressed, it's okay. Teaching. So many people think that because we've all had teachers in our life, that all of us could easily be a teacher without any kind of training at all. That professional teachers deserve their low pay, or even a pay reduction, because they don't work a full year, or because they didn't actually have to learn how to do their jobs effectively. I come from a family of teachers. My mom, sister and wife are all teachers, and they all work their posteriors off every single day. If you count the time they spend on work material at home, they easily spend 12 or 14 hours a day on the job, plus significant time on weekends. The time they spend in front of students is only a piece of it. That's not very obvious to people with jobs like mine. That end for the day when we leave the office. The internet, communism, capitalism, socialism, and any other thing-ism. How helicopters work? No, the blades do not speed up to create lift, they tilt. Lift has nothing to do with it. Helicopters fly by beating the air into submission. Evolution. When people mumble and you don't really hear them, so you just laugh and say yay. Yay is the response to whatever they said. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.